the proposed expenditure be agreed to. I call the honourable member for Hinkler.
Well, thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. My second question is also on the Entrepreneurs Infrastructure Program, but I want to ensure that the minister is aware of some of the absolutely valuable additions from the Hinkler electorate to manufacturing. In particular, we are the biggest producer of heavy vegetables in Australia. And of course, all of our agriculturists know that farm gate returns are simply not high enough. So we need those value-adding products to increase not only productivity but the return to our farmers to make them viable. Inside my electorate, Minister, we have opportunities for macadamias, we have opportunities for sweet potatoes. We already have organisations like AusChili, David and Trent DePoli, which are a major exporter all over the world of chili and basil and avocado products. These are secondary level manufacturers who help our local producers. The other thing the minister may well not be aware of is that the Bundaberg port is completely underutilised. The opportunities in Bundaberg and in the Hinkler electorate are quite simple. Land is cheap. We have lots of it. There is a lay-down area in Bundaberg as big as the Brisbane port. We could build container ports, we can build industry, we can do anything, but we need that seed funding to try and help those things along. And certainly it is low risk. We are below the barrier reef. We are in a low cyclone risk area. There is opportunities there. The Bundaberg Foundry, for example, is located in Bundaberg, just celebrated 125 years of manufacturing, still there, but under pressure from the carbon tax, from red and green tape. They are struggling. Electricity costs up $1 million. $1 million. If you can name me a foundry which is making $1 million a year in Australia, that would be very interesting to me, Minister. Certainly, the Entrepreneurs Infrastructure Program is incredibly important. And further to my last question on the government's commitment to industry policy and more specifically the delivery of the new Entrepreneurs Infrastructure Program through the Single Business Service Initiative, would you advise what the government is doing to ensure there is a smooth transition from the closure of existing programs to the launch of the new Entrepreneurs Infrastructure Program? Is there a date by which the program will be functioning, and is the government on track to meet that date? How will business, particularly SMEs, interact and gain access to the new Entrepreneurs Infrastructure Program? Businesses like Hervey Bay Seafoods, the Hervey Bay Scallop, who could certainly do with an automated shucking machine, something that hasn't been able to be built yet that would work functionally. So how does this new initiative simplify the process for business to seek support? What was the reaction been from major stakeholders to this budget measure? Thank you, Minister.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and can I again thank the member for Hinkler and say how impressed I am by the support he gives his businesses in his electorate and his knowledge of the issues that they face. And certainly Bundaberg is a city that I've had the opportunity to visit on numerous occasions. In fact, I remember going there when I was quite young, and I remember my attraction to it when I was perhaps an older person, which fortunately I managed to break that habit and I don't drink Bundaberg rum anymore. But it is a great product, and I certainly don't bemoan it. But it was something which I'm sure has made Bundaberg very famous. Mr Deputy Speaker, the member for Hinkler asks me about the Entrepreneurs Infrastructure Program, and I hear interjections from the other side about handouts. I think we need to be very clear about these programs and how they work. They work to give business a hand up, not a handout. I know the Labor Party is infamous for spraying money around with gay abandon and very little purpose. And one of the great problems we've had in relation to one of the great problems we've had in Australia since we took government was dealing with the band-aids that they'd applied to various industries. And I could ask them what commitments and what long-term benefit they achieved by the millions of dollars they gave to Alcoa, or by the undertakings and the millions of dollars they gave to GMH to stay in Australia. Mr Deputy Speaker, our programs are specifically targeted at producing results, and the government's decision to implement this new initiative, the Entrepreneurs Infrastructure Program, took into consideration the existing status of all current programs that are planned to be phased out of operation. And I have to say it was almost a grab bag of programs, some of which some of which, Mr Deputy Speaker, I know you'd be shocked to know, actually never came into operation. Money was allocated, announcements were made, launches were relaunched, but nothing ever happened. I know you, particularly Mr Deputy Speaker, would be shocked by that, knowing the value of money. The reality is, though, that we are going to ensure that there are well-targeted programs. To ensure that no business misses out, this government has made provision for Commercialisation Australia to operate through until December 31, 2014 and deal with all applications formally lodged before the close of business in 2014. Additionally, Enterprise Connect will run on a business-as-usual basis until the end of this current financial year, and any small to medium business owners that were dealing with either Commercialisation Australia or Enterprise Connect will be able to be transferred across to the new Entrepreneurs Infrastructure Program from early in the new financial year to ensure there is a seamless transition. Now, the member for Hinkler asked me about the start-up dates in relation to the Entrepreneur Infrastructure Program, and in line with the 2014-15 budget commitments, the Entrepreneurs Infrastructure Program will operate from the 1st of July 2014, and its interaction with SMEs and access by SMEs is very simple. Business will be able to gain access and interact with the Entrepreneur Infrastructure Program in person, on the phone or via the internet or email. Throughout this month of June, all details of the program will be placed on the Department of Industry's website. And Mr Deputy Speaker, we're asked how this program works in comparison to previous programs, and the reality is, as I've just mentioned, there was, when we inherited government, an overlapping plethora of small grants of entitlements that were not targeted towards any specific outcome, and we're setting about getting the economic settings right, getting rid of red tape and equipping business by giving them the market and information and skills they need. And we must remember that it's Labor's legacy is one of indecision and change. In the last 3 years, in fact, there were 14 ministers through the former Department of Industry, Innovation, Science and Research, Climate Change and Tertiary Education, and you wonder why small business was glad to see them go.
Thank you, Minister. The question before the House remains that the proposed expenditure be agreed to, and the call is to the member for Gellibrand.
Thank you, Mr.